Last spring, I took a solo trip to Mexico. Heart rest, heart adventure. After a few days in Playa del Carmen, I heard about this lesser-known cenote tucked away in the jungle near Tulum. Not a tourist hotspot, no tour groups, just crystal clear water and silence. Exactly what I wanted. I rented a bike and rode out early in the morning. The entrance was marked only by a hand-painted sign nailed to a tree. A man at a wooden table collected the small fee and offered a faint smile when I told him I was going in alone. "Don't speak while you're near the water," he said in Spanish. "It remembers voices." I laughed nervously, thinking it was just local myth or an attempt at atmosphere. But his face? He wasn't joking. The cenote was stunning, deep, still, and eerily quiet. No one else was there. I sat at the edge with my feet dangling in the water. The sun filtered through the treetops. The air was so still, I could hear my own breathing. That's when I heard it. A voice, whispering, right next to me. It wasn't in Spanish. It wasn't English. It didn't sound like any language at all. Just a soft, wet murmur. Like words pulled up from the bottom of the cenote, bubbling through time. I whipped around. No one. The jungle was silent. I told myself it was wind, echo, imagination. That night, I stayed in a small casita nearby. Simple but clean, with a mosquito net and thin walls. I fell asleep easily, but the dream hit hard. I was underwater. I couldn't move. Around me, dozens of people stood at the cenote's edge, dressed in ancient robes. Their faces were blank. One of them leaned down and whispered something I couldn't understand. When I woke up, I was soaked in sweat. My ears were ringing. I brushed it off as dehydration or sun exposure. But when I stepped outside the next morning, my heart nearly stopped. There was a single wet footprint in front of my door. Barefoot. Small, facing my room. I hadn't been near water since the cenote, and it hadn't rained. I packed up immediately and returned to the man at the entrance of the cenote. When I told him what happened, he didn't look surprised. He simply nodded once and said, "You sat in silence? That's good. If you had spoken back, it would have remembered you." I didn't ask what that meant. I just thanked him quietly and left. Now, whenever I hear running water, showers, rain, even a bathtub, I listen closely. Because somewhere in that stillness, I swear I can hear it again. Whispering. Waiting. A few years ago, my partner and I took a trip to the Yucatan to disconnect. We found this stunning old hacienda turned boutique hotel, remote, surrounded by jungle, with thick stone walls and a long history that you could feel in the air. It had charm, colorful tiles, arched doorways. Even the old wooden furniture creaked like it remembered every visitor that had passed through over the centuries. When we arrived, we were one of only 3 couples staying there. The staff was friendly, the food was homemade, and everything felt peaceful, except for the hallway. At the end of the corridor near our room was a single door, locked. It was heavy and old, darker than the others, with a rusted keyhole and no sign or number. It looked completely out of place. That first night, after a day exploring cenotes and ruins, we returned to the hacienda and crashed early. But around 3 a.m., I woke up to a sound. Furniture moving. It was unmistakable, like a chair being dragged across an old floor. I lay still, eyes open, listening. The sound came from the hallway, and it was coming from the direction of that locked door. I thought maybe it was a staff member or one of the other guests. But when I opened the door to peek out, the corridor was empty. Just the thick silence of stone walls and darkness. The sound had stopped. I didn't mention it the next morning. I figured maybe I dreamed it. But on our second night, we stayed up late reading in bed. At exactly 3:03 a.m., we heard it again. This time we both did. A slow scrape, like something being dragged across the floor, echoing from that same part of the hall. We crept to the door and looked out. No one. But as we stood there in the silence, I swear we heard it. A knock, just once, from the locked room. That was enough for me. In the morning, over breakfast, we asked one of the women at the front desk about it casually, if someone was staying in that room, or if maybe it was being used for storage. Her face changed instantly. She leaned in and said softly, "We don't use that room. Not since years ago." She wouldn't say much more, but another staff member later told us in private that a guest had gone missing in that room decades ago. They were never found. After that, the door was sealed. But every few years, guests near it report sounds. Furniture moving, knocking, and always at the same hour. We switched rooms that day, no questions asked. They moved us to a suite on the other side of the Hacienda. Our last 2 nights there, completely quiet. Still, I couldn't stop thinking about it. Before we left, I walked past that hallway one last time in the daylight. The door looked older than ever, dusty, unused. But as I turned to leave, I noticed something strange. The doorknob was clean, polished, like someone had touched it recently. They say some places hold memories, but others, they hold people. And sometimes, those people knock. I've always loved photographing street art when I travel, so when I visited Mexico City last spring, I brought my camera everywhere, capturing murals, hidden alleyways, even worn-down neighborhood walls that felt full of history. One night, after dinner with a few travelers from my hostel, I decided to take a walk. The city felt electric, warm breeze, live music in the distance, glowing streetlights. I wandered past markets closing up and into a quieter part of the city. That's when I found it. A narrow alley, empty, silent. And on every wall, eyes. Painted eyes, carved eyes, hundreds of them. Some realistic, others stylized. Big, small, layered over each other, covering doors, windows, street signs. All of them wide open. It was mesmerizing and strange. Naturally, I took a photo. I only meant to stay a minute, maybe 2. But the deeper I walked, the longer the alley seemed to stretch. The same style of murals kept repeating. Identical eyes over and over again. The street behind me had vanished. It was just gone. No people, no noise, no way I hadn't wandered into some strange part of the city. I tried my phone, no signal. Maps glitched out. Just a blue dot floating in gray nothingness. That's when I heard it, bare feet, slapping gently on the pavement behind me. I turned around. Nothing there. I started walking faster. Every few steps I stopped to check my surroundings. But the art, it was always the same. The same eyes, the same cracks in the walls, the same closed doors. It was like I hadn't moved at all. And the footsteps were closer now. Still slow, still soft, like someone following just out of reach. I tried knocking on one of the doors. No answer. I yelled out, but my voice didn't echo, just eyes, watching. I don't know what made me do it, but instinct kicked in. I turned to the closest wall covered in eyes and shut my own. I stood there, eyes closed, heart racing. I whispered, "I don't want to see anymore." Nothing happened at first. Then, the footsteps stopped, and a breeze swept through the alley, warm and dry. When I opened my eyes again, the mural was gone. I was standing on an ordinary sidewalk just a block from my hostel. Cars passed, music played, people laughed on a patio nearby. I looked back, no alley, just a blank stucco wall. I checked my camera later. Every photo from that walk, blurry, corrupted, as if the memory itself didn't want to be kept. I still photograph street art, but I never walk down alleys alone anymore. And if I ever find myself somewhere too quiet, surrounded by too many painted eyes, I close mine. Because sometimes, in Mexico City, you see something that sees you back.